I found the negatives completely by chance. There were 6 or 7 large boxes. Opened the first box, and the first packet that I came across basically said Enoch Powell, Merthyr Tydfil. So that was the first frame that I looked at from the whole array of work. Then I found Petula Clark. I delved deeper, and there was a young Tom Jones. And in another set of negatives, Merthyr boxing legend Howard Winston. Forgotten images of valley life from 50 years ago. My name is Jon Pountney. I'm an artist and professional photographer, and I live and work in Cardiff. I've always thought that I was born at the wrong time because I've always preferred stuff in the past. I love 50s, 60s, 70s British black and white photography, and I like to use buildings like this and old cars to give my work a sense of history and a sense of place. Which is why I'm so excited about my new project. 2 years ago, I came across this collection of photographs of the Welsh Valleys from the 1960s and 70s in a storeroom at the back of Treorchy Library. The hoard of some 18,000 negatives had been donated by the daughter of David Thickins, a local wedding photographer who had recently passed away. Each box, as you open it, is an insight into a different world. Before you lift the lid, you've no idea what you're going to be faced with. It could be almost anything. And take the lid off, and the first 2 things I see are the Black Lion, which is a pub in Aberdare, and then it's Miss Aberdare in Abercynon. So straight away you're into a story. David takes the ordinary and makes it into something extraordinary, just bringing things to life, almost in full Technicolor when he's only working in black and white. That's how I feel he's a kindred spirit. What I want to do is unlock the stories within these photos, and I want to go out and find the people in the photos and find out what was happening to these people, in some cases 50 years ago. Inspired by David Thickins' work, I plan to photograph some of the people and places he featured and bring these stories up to date. I'm hoping on the way I'll discover more about David and why he took these amazing pictures of valley life. But before starting my search, I need to learn more about the era the photographs document. So my first stop is to visit historian Dr. Elin Jones in Ystrad Mynach. I think she's going to really like the pictures. I think she's going to be excited to see the pictures. What I want from her is background on life in the valleys in the 60s and 70s. So that's the first one.
Oh my goodness, we have Enoch Powell. Good Lord.
Somewhere in Merthyr, 1971.
What on earth was it?
That's very interesting as well. There's obviously a demo.
Yes, Enoch Powell out. See, it's nearly all women as well.
Some other ones here. So we've got Harold Wilson in Ebervale Steelworks.
Ah, right. Harold Wilson was the guy for the white hot heat of technology.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Bringing in new industries.
Yes.
And they were closing down the coal mines. So the steelworks in Ebervale were very important.
Yes, but of course now.
All gone.
So then we've got Aberfan.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, what's really interesting is these slag heaps, how big they are on the landscape.
Oh, they were enormous.
And then we've got the little boy on the tricycle. He survived the disaster, maybe.
He would have been too little to go to school, I think, and he doesn't look more than about 3 or 4, does he?
This one is an outstandingly striking picture.
This is tough life.
Yeah.
3 little kids. And then you've got a coal fire, which is, by the look of it, their only source of heating.
Yes.
I knew plenty of people in the 50s and 60s who cooked on the coal fire.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's real poverty.
Yes. So then there's some of Petula Clark in Abercynon.
Well, her uncle used to have the grocery shop in Ystrad. Oh. Yeah, and there she was signing autographs.
Yeah.
That's right. It was she'd been arrived from outer space.
It's a brilliant photo.
Yeah. So you want now an idea of where to go with
I think so, yeah.
Well, you want to look at something fairly straightforward to start off with. And I would say go for Enoch Powell, because people will remember that. And Harold Wilson come in the effect of government decisions on Valley's life. So that's a turning point in Valley's life. But if we talk about turning points, I think you have to go after the pictures in Aberfan.
Yes.
Because that was a pivotal point, when that tip came down and killed all those children, our attitude towards the coal industry changed, regeneration of the valleys begins, and also South Wales and the deprivation in South Wales that we've seen in some of these photographs as well, that becomes unacceptable, and you get the new housing estates built. But what you've got here, for me, is images of a society changing.
Yes.
Life in the valleys was changing. Was changing just at that time. And these pictures have captured it forever.
On Ellen's advice, I head to Merthyr Library, hoping that the archives of the Merthyr Express might hold a clue as to what one of Britain's most right-wing politicians was actually doing in Labour's Welsh heartland. Socialism is a bind, says Enoch. A standing ovation at the end of the May Day meeting so many thought could never take place in Merthyr. In his 65-minute speech, Mr Powell attacked the new plans for the steel industry, but his overall theme was a lucid restatement of Tory fundamentals. So that's pretty intense stuff from May the 1st, 1971. Let's just scan through the rest of the front page. Oh, hang on. Oh, OK. That looks very much like David's picture here. That, to me, is a clear link between the Merthyr Express and David's photography. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to find out if the Con Club is still there, and I'm going to head down there and see if anyone remembers the day and remembers Enoch Powell. What intrigues me about this photo is the identity of the latter-day photo bomber peeping into frame, basking in the reflected glory of a famous politician. To help my quest, I've arranged to meet Bill Long and Emlyn Evans, long-standing members of the Merthyr Conservative Club. Emlyn and Bill, I've brought some photos to show you today, so I'm very interested to know if you can identify, really, where you think they were taken.
I think this part here is the old bar. That's what it looks like, doesn't it?
So that photo was taken in this room,
in this bar.
So did you meet him?
He had these piercing blue eyes, you know, when he looked at you. You know, I knew that he was there.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised how short he was. I thought he was a bigger man, you know.
Oh, really? Did you recognise this guy?
That is Edward Jones.
Oh, OK.
I can recognise him now. Ed the Ted, they used to call him.
Okay.
And he said they should all be flogged, he said.
Yes.
All murderers. And Mr Powell looked at him with disdain and said...
Really? Because what I like about this picture is the way he's kind of almost straining to get into the photo with Enoch Powell. Because obviously he would be very keen to get his picture taken with him, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Do you think people are as interested in politics now in the valleys, or do you think it's something that may have died away a bit?
I think generally, you know, people are disinterested in politics because, you know, most people, they think, oh, you know...
Yeah. It's quite sad, really, in that way, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
Because obviously Enoch Powell was a politician of great... What's the word I'm looking for? He had great...
Well, what did he say? One of his quotes was, all politicians' lives end in failure.
Yes. You don't retire at the top as a politician, do you?
No.
Now it's time to take my own photograph in the same room as David's to bring this story up to date. Yeah, that's really good. But politicians aren't the only famous faces in David's collection. I love this picture of 60s pop star Petula Clark and how a Carnaby Street glamour contrasts with the gritty realism of the small mining community of Abercanide. I discovered that she had been evacuated to the village during the war and made a return visit after she became famous. It must have been big news at the time, so I'm hoping there's someone still around who can remember the event. After knocking on a few doors, I get a lead. I need to find Clive Jones, member of the congregation for many years and today helping out at the church fete. Hiya. Clive. Are you Clive? Nice to meet you. How are you doing? I'm just wondering if you recognise any of the faces in these pictures.
John, could you come here a second, please? Come on, John. Just to check that this is Nightingale Street, John. I'm sure it is, isn't it?
I think it is too.
That's Nightingale
So
Street.
got these...
That's Nightingale Street.
Ah,
yeah.
right, okay. Yeah.
Is that Anita Jones?
Yes, it is definitely Anita.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Anita, she died.
She died.
Oh, no.
A couple of years ago.
Oh, that's awful. What a shame. So
What building is that, June? Is that the school?
Inside the school, is it?
Inside the school, because
Yeah.
she was in the school. I remember her slipping in the back and she was singing downtown.
Okay, so she did a performance in...
Yeah, she did. She
Oh,
sang
wow.
for the children. She did, because our children were there at the same time.
That's
weren't they?
brilliant, isn't it? But, I mean, that's the best
That's a nice
one.
one.
Yeah, I think she looks absolutely beautiful there, doesn't she? Yeah. It's great how showing an old photograph can spark a conversation with complete strangers. Something that also happens when I've shared David's images online. I've been adding a lot of digitised pictures to different social media. Most of the pictures, if not all of the pictures, do get comments. So there are quite a few leads, particularly with the go-kart pictures. You know, that's the power of social media in this way, that you can put a picture on and within seconds, minutes, hundreds or thousands of people can see whether they can identify who's in the picture. Here's Tom Jones on the sidelines for once. But who is the girl centre stage, the focus of his amorous attentions? I was contacted by Ebervale resident Susan Janes, who identified herself as the girl in the picture. But how, I wonder, did she get backstage to meet him? So I brought this to show you, which I think you're going to recognise at least one of the people in that picture.
Yes.
So what are your memories of this particular night with Tom Jones?
Well, I can remember having that photograph taken.
Oh, right.
Yes, I can.
When I first saw this picture, I thought possibly it was you were maybe a competition winner or something like that.
No.
So you were performing?
I was performing with Tom, yes.
Oh,
yes.
right, okay.
Yes.
Because you look very young in the picture. I didn't think...
Yes, I was. I was a
Oh,
teenager.
right.
Well, I started at 8-year-old where I sang in Eisteddfods and we would travel around the valleys and it progressed from there. I worked in the clubs
That's
at 15.
brilliant. Wow.
Yes.
What kind of stuff did you sing?
Well, I was a soprano by range.
Right, okay.
And I'd done my training locally. I always like to do modern music.
Right,
so
okay.
I combined both.
I suppose Tom was top of the bill, was he?
Oh, yes. What's New Pussycat had come out then.
Oh, right, okay. And,
Yes.
but it's still performing in a place like Ebervale, which is
Oh,
brilliant.
yes. Oh, yeah.
Right. And have you got any similar pictures of
Yes, John,
this kind
I've
of...
got some glossies ones in here.
Oh, wow. Oh, these are brilliant, aren't they?
Mm.
I love his shirt as well. That's that. Hang on, I'm sure that's the same photo, isn't it? That's a crop of the same
Very
photo.
similar. Yes, it's very similar.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that to me says that these other pictures were also taken by the same photographer.
Yes.
And maybe... Oh, okay.
What?
Oh,
Merthyr
right.
Express.
So that's a definite link between these photos and the Merthyr Express.
Yeah.
Okay. But you can't remember the photographer in any way, I don't suppose, can you?
I can't.
No, I mean, it's a long time ago,
It's a long
isn't it?
time ago.
Yeah. What I'd like to do now, if you don't mind, is to go down to the Astoria and take a picture of you in front of it, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So you performed in the Astoria with Tom Jones?
Yes.
And whereabouts exactly was? Oh, this might give me a clue. Whereabouts exactly was?
It was here.
Yeah, okay.
It was here, yes.
And it's the Picture House pub now.
Yes.
So just step into shot a little bit more for me, Susan. Come, that's it. There we are. And a big smile. Seeing the Merthyr Express stamp on the back of Susan's photos gets me thinking. With this, and the Enoch Powell picture I found in the library, surely David Thickens must have worked for the Merthyr Express. I wonder if anyone working there still remembers him.
Good morning, newsroom. John speaking.
Hiya, John. It's Jon Pountney. I'm just ringing about the photographer David Thickens.
I haven't heard of him here, I don't think.
Oh, right. Okay. So you don't think you've heard of him as a photographer that used to work on the Merthyr Express about possibly 40 or more years ago?
No one has, remembers him or any of his work being in the newspaper. It's all a bit of a mystery.
Yes. Well, yeah, he is an absolute mystery at the moment.
Okay, thank you, cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I am very surprised by that phone call, and I'm a bit taken aback that obviously there's no one around that remembers David or remembers his work. Not sure what the next step is, but yeah, interesting, very interesting. Despite the dead end on David Thickens, I'm at least having more success tracing the people he photographed. To me, this is a photo about childhood in the early 1970s, kids racing homemade go-karts. It captures a time before the age of game consoles and stay-indoors electronic gadgetry, when the street was your playground. I want to discover more about this event and the joy of making your own fun. So I'm heading back to school to meet Colin Hennessy, former boy racer turned caretaker at Bishop Headley School.
Hello there.
Colin.
Hello, John. How are you?
How are you doing? Nice to meet you.
Okay, coming in.
Thank you very much.
Take a seat.
So quite a few people have identified you in one of these pictures, Colin.
Can I get my specs?
Yes, yeah. I'm not going to tell you where you are.
No.
See if you recognise yourself after 45 years.
I think that's me, by the looks of it.
Right, OK.
Just in front of the policeman.
Yeah. So do you have any recollection of this?
Well, it's a race between the Gurness and Ganlacher boys, by the looks of it.
Yeah.
The Gurness was a new estate then.
Right, OK.
The Ganlacher was an older estate.
Yeah.
And then there was a big rivalry between the Gurness kids and the Ganlacher kids. Like all them are all homemade, all scaffolding plank.
Yeah.
Like the wheels of a pram. And bit of cord for guiding and feet for brakes. Try and put them on the front of the wheels and hopefully they slow down. Yeah, they were good days, happy days, where we just made our own enjoyment. That's what I think is missing these days, really. Yeah, John, just we come up Cherry Grove now, where we can see in the photos.
Ah, right, yes.
Just up the top of there.
Oh, yeah.
Just to the corner.
I can see it pretty well, actually.
Yeah, that's it.
To come across a little bit, I mean, that is pretty close, isn't it?
Yeah, that's probably where we are now, yeah.
Yeah. It looks a bit steeper in the photo, doesn't it?
When you were riding them, it's surprising they pick up speed very quickly. They didn't need much rail for that.
No.
You know? Oh, they were good days.
Yeah. Can I take a picture of you in the same spot?
If you want to, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, so I'll move around with that for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that looks about right, Colin. So a lot of my time is spent looking through boxes and boxes of stuff and then see what catches my eye. Interfactory table tennis finals, which sounds brilliant, plus darts. Oh, that's quite interesting. Express reporter, Jackie Bow, wedding. 28th of September 1974. So maybe this is someone that knew David. Maybe he did their wedding as a favour. It's a name that I can Google. And she does come up still as a Media Wales reporter as recently as 2008, so she's worked there a very long time. I managed to get in touch with Jackie, and she was intrigued about seeing David's photos of her wedding. It turns out she rose to become the editor of the Merthyr Express, so surely she must remember David Thickens. Got some photos to show you. Okay. And I think, looking at you now, I'm pretty certain is your wedding day. That's the first one.
Right.
So, who do you think took these?
It's possibly David Jones.
David Jones?
Yes, he was the staff photographer, I believe, at the time.
Okay, so the name David Thickens, does that mean anything to you at all?
Nothing at all.
Right, okay. And when did you start work on the Merthyr Express?
That was in 1969.
So you would have known everyone that was associated with the paper at that point?
Yes.
So I've got some more on the laptop to show you here, Jackie, of stuff from the archive. So this guy then is...
my father.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh. That's really weird.
Those are the trophies that he'd won. He
Wow.
played for Thomastown Bowls Club. And Phil Davis came to the house and took the photograph.
So
and
this isn't David Thickens taking this picture?
No, definitely Phil Davis. That was bright orange wallpaper.
Wow.
60s retro.
You can kind of see the colour, even though it's in black and white, can't you?
Yeah.
So this is Aberfan. Quite a striking
it
image.
Is.
And,
yes, yeah,
you know,
the cemetery there, the tips.
Yeah.
You think David Thickens maybe took these as
yes,
well?
Yes, I think so.
Because the photographer who was working for the Merthyr Express at the time was Mel Parry.
Right.
And I'm sure Mel was there a year on. Yeah.
This has been a bit of a revelation for me today, Jackie,
Yes.
because going straight from your wedding photographs, which you think was taken by David Jones.
Yes.
Then we've got your pictures of your dad, which remind me who they were taken by?
Phil Davis.
Phil Davis. And then we've got the pictures of Aberfan, which you think were taken by Mel Parry.
Yes, I would say they would be.
That is obviously 3 different photographers. Is Mel still alive?
Yes.
Right,
yes, he is,
okay.
yeah.
I'm just wondering now if you can somehow put me in touch with Mel.
Yes, that should be a problem.
Have
I
a
should
look
be able to
through.
get in touch with him for you.
Yeah, that would be great, thank you. I mean, this has blown it wide open for me, really. It's really put the cat amongst the pigeons. So I've started today really believing that I was looking for information on one person, David, who had created this huge body of work. After talking to Jackie, the whole thing has spun on its head. And now I'm looking for a living photographer, Mel Parry. And I think that's a really exciting way back into this project, is that originally I was looking for information about someone who had passed away, but now I'm looking for information from someone who can actually tell me what it was like to be there on that day. One photo that Jackie thinks was taken by Mel Parry is the image of children playing, which is labelled Aberfan 1 year on. What's poignant about this image is that the children are overshadowed by the remains of the coal tips that collapsed on the village school with such tragic loss of life. But who were these children, and what does the image tell us about the community 1 year on from this tragedy? There's been an absolutely fantastic response to this picture on social media. The sister of the little boy in the picture got in touch and wrote on there, "The boy sitting is my brother, Philip Carpenter, out by the house in Griffiths Terrace, Bryntaff, Aberfan." When I spoke to Jean, I was saddened to learn that one of her other brothers, Desmond, was amongst those who died at the school. Before I meet Jean, I want to discover as much as I can about what happened here, and so I've asked Ellen to join me in Aberfan. So where are we now, Ellen?
We are exactly on the site of the disaster.
Right.
The tip was above us here, and it was down this hillside that river of slurry came.
Yeah.
And covered this area and buried the school
Yes.
and the children below us. And so we're walking through the graveyard of those children. It had a huge impact on this area, of course.
Yeah.
But it had a wider impact on the valleys. It made us rethink our approach to the coal industry. It was a real wake-up call because it made us assess the real price of coal, not just on individuals' health, and not on the health of men who had chosen to work underground, but their children, 7 to 10 years old, these little ones.
Ellen's description of the wider impact of the tragedy makes me think of the personal loss. I meet Jean at the family home she shared with her brothers to show the Aberfan 1 year on photos to her father, Bryn. So these pictures were taken on the first anniversary of the disaster.
That's Philip,
Yes?
my son.
Your son?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I think that was Desmond's dog. My brother that got killed. Yeah.
Right.
There was no one got out of the class that my brother was in.
No. So how old was Desmond when it happened?
10.
Oh, I love him. Looking at this picture and thinking to the year before it, what are your memories?
I wouldn't go to school that day for some unknown reason.
Right, okay.
So I hid behind the gate.
And did you see the school?
No, there was so much fog, you couldn't even see it.
Oh, right, okay.
The fog was so, so down.
Yeah.
You couldn't see from there down to the school.
So a lot of the people that remember the disaster still live in this street and still live in Aberfan, yeah.
People got together.
Of course, yeah.
And, that helped.
Yes.
That helped
of course it
a
did.
long, long way.
That's what's nice about this, isn't
Yes.
it? A
And
year
it's
later
good.
to see smiling faces.
Of course, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to try and mimic this shot as best I can. And I think,
Yeah, it's about there.
well, it's pretty smack on, isn't it?
Yeah.
The major difference is the size of the slag heaps.
Yeah, they have flattened them out a bit.
Yeah,
now,
yeah. I've got you just about in the right spot. 116 children and 28 adults lost their lives in the disaster. Jean invites me to join her at the Aberfan Memorial on one of her regular visits to her brother Desmond's grave. One can't help but be moved by this memorial and the stories of the tragedy that has scarred Aberfan. Looking out across a once industrial landscape, now reclaimed by nature, I reflect on my own journey and the people who have shared their memories of valley life. As I'm discovering, every picture tells a story, but there's still one aspect of this story I know little about: the person who took these photographs. But maybe that's about to change. I'm meeting former Merthyr Express photographer Mel Parry at his home in Mountain Ash. Hi, Mel.
Hi, John.
All right?
Yeah, fine, thanks.
The first image I found in Yorkie Library was this one of Enoch Powell.
That's Enoch Powell at the Merthyr Conservative Club.
Yeah.
There were 3 photographers at the time in the
Yes.
Merthyr Express, but those I can remember being mine.
So you were there the 1st of May 1971.
Yeah.
And you're the person that took this shot that's haunted me. Just his piercing expression. Probably the most notorious politician in Britain at that
It would have
point.
been at that time, yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been. If you look at what's around today.
Yes. He'd fit in quite well.
He would have probably been
Yeah.
really at the forefront of today.
So our next print, this picture for me is an amazing photo for a photojournalist, because you're telling the whole story of Aberfan in one frame. And that's the shadow of the tips, that's the children, that's the empty street.
In some respects, if you look at that, you've got the missing generation that are no longer there.
Yeah.
The little girl with the dog.
Yes.
Okay. Right opposite was the house where my wife was born.
Oh, wow, okay.
If you look on the side,
yeah.
Okay, when we took that, being shy as kids are, Bryn would have been standing on the side, cajoling them to make sure,
Yes.
you know, have your photograph taken. And Bryn would have allowed me to do that
Because
we
you know
knew
who
him.
you were.
Knew
Yeah.
who you were.
Yeah. So I think we can say without much of a shadow of a doubt that you took these.
Well, it's got my writing on it.
So what we're looking at really here is the lost archive.
Probably of
Celtic
newspapers.
press.
Yeah, I would say.
You know, the valleys in that era is not well documented at all.
No.
But thankfully, David somehow came into possession of this stuff.
Yeah,
and
well, he's retained, you know, a
Yeah.
nice history of a community.
So this has been absolutely brilliant today. To firstly meet the person that took the pictures.
Not all of them, but but that's brought back, as I say, it's brought back a lot of memories.
That's been absolutely an incredible experience, talking to Mel there. I feel a bit blown away, quite emotional about the whole thing, because for me that's kind of the end of the journey. The affinity I felt through those photos with a photographer who was a kind of imaginary figure in David has now come to life in Mel, and that's pretty incredible, because my original endpoint was a guy that had passed away, and now in finding out that he was just kind of a guardian of those photographs, I've now managed to meet the guy that actually did take those photographs. And I think that for a photographer to meet the guy that took those is as good as it gets, really.